Hello. Hello?
Hi, Trudy, is that you?
Yes.
Hi, Ms. DeLong, Warren Lohman. Thank you for coming.
Yes.
Okay, I would like to call to order today's meeting, the Executive Branch Audit Committee for July 6, 2020. Could I ask the clerk to take the roll, please?
Lieutenant Governor Marshall. Lieutenant Governor Marshall. Secretary Sagaski.
I'm here.
Treasurer Conine.
Present.
Controller Byrne.
Present.
General Ford.
Here.
Ms. DeLong.
Here.
Chair Governor Sisolak.
Here. Thank you. This item number 2, we have a quorum. This is first time set aside for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board on any item on today's agenda, items on the agenda, please step forward or speak up, identify yourself for the record, and comments to be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody on the phone? Do we have anybody up north wanting to speak during public comment? Do we have anybody in Las Vegas wanting to speak during public comment? We apparently have no public comment. Okay, item number 3, approval of the February 26, 2020 minutes. Minutes are in our book. Do we have a motion on the minutes?
Move for approval. This is Barbara.
We have a motion for approval on the minutes. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing, seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Motion passes. Item number 4, presentation of audit 6-month follow-up status reports pursuant to NRS 353A.090. These are information items.
For the record, Jeff Landerfeld, Executive Branch Auditor. Governor, if I may, I haven't heard confirmation that the agency representative is...
Hi. Kate Marshall's here.
Lieutenant Governor has joined to the meeting. Works?
Governor, we're having problems hearing you.
Yep.
Okay. Do we have the representative of the Department of Administration, State Public Works on the phone? Okay. How about, I guess we're down to D, huh? Corrections. Could I ask my staff to call and make sure I get these people on the phone? They should have been on the phone at 1 o'clock. Department of Corrections, Mental Health Services. Okay, you guys are killing me here. Do we have anybody on the phone, any representatives on the phone from any of these agencies? Were they notified of a meeting today? Okay, let's go on to item number 5. Do I have anybody from Department of Administration, Administrative Services Division, Bond Management and Accounting on the phone?
Governor, I received confirmation that both the administrator and the director of the department would be here today on the phone.
And neither of them are here.
No, I don't, I just was texted just a few minutes ago by the ASD administrator, and he said they'd be present.
Okay. Do I have anybody from Public Safety on the phone? Do I have anybody whatsoever on the phone that's supposed to be participating in any of these audits?
Governor, this is Barbara Sagowski, and they might be there, but they might not be able to be heard. Somebody might have them on mute, so I would check that first.
No, staff's telling me nobody's muted. Okay, let's go to item number 6, and we'll come back to this, I guess. Annual audit plan pursuant to NRS 353A.038. Yeah, let's do the audit plan. Warren, please.
Thank you, Governor.
We're on item number 6, everybody.
On tab 6, you'll note that we've provided a new audit request to update the audit plan. It's of the Division of Department of Corrections, looking at their fiscal processes. With your approval, Governor, and of the committee, we will add that and proceed to audit them and plan to report that back to the committee by January 2021.
That would be great. Do we have anybody from the Department of Corrections? Okay, I'm going to make a statement for the record then if they're not here. Under NRS 353A, it's the responsibility of the Administrative Department of Division of Internal Audits in consultation with the GFO Director to prepare a plan for auditing executive branch agencies each year. And the plan for EBAC and its review, to present the plan for EBAC and its review and approval. This responsibility includes ensuring internal accounting, administrative controls, and financial management of the agencies. Nevada Department of Corrections is an agency whose effective and successful operation is critical for the safety of the public, its staff, and the inmates within its control. It is a unique agency responsible for housing, meals, health care, and safety of inmates, along with internal programs designed to support and prepare inmates for return to society. The agency also has critical important staff, including correctional officers who must be present around the clock. While many aspects of the operation of NDOC have been audited over the years, an audit specific to this, the fiscal financial operation, is important to ensure that an up-to-date fiscal operation is supporting its critical operations. That's why it's especially difficult in these difficult times, facing both a health crisis and a fiscal crisis. It's more important than ever that we ensure agencies are managing their budgets in a responsible and efficient manner, and that's why I have asked for this audit. We've asked for this and appreciate you getting it to us in 6 months, which is great. Could I have a motion to approve item number 6, please, the revision of the annual audit plan pursuant to NRS 353A.038?
Motion to approve. Move for approval.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying, was that a yes?
No, this is Trudy. I wanted to ask that another audit be moved up.
Okay.
As we're discussing financial management, there's the one for State Public Works Division. It's way down near the bottom. Given the results of the audits that we are hopefully going to discuss, I think that one should be bumped up as well.
What does that do to the calendar, Warren?
Governor, we can move that up. We'll work it through if that's the committee's desire.
If that's the will of the committee, we can move that up as much as he possibly can. How's that, Trudy? Does that work?
That'd be great. Yeah.
Perfect. We have a motion then for that, for approval of the NDOC audit along with moving up Public Works. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. I'm getting texts that people are on the phone and they're not getting through. Okay, I can't hear. Do we have any agencies on the phone now for their audits?
Yes, sir. This is Laura Freed, Director of Department of Administration. I'm shortly going to be joined by 3 of the division administrators who have audits. It turns out that we had a different collaboration code than you all had.
Okay, who's ready to go now? Going once.
Governor, with the division of or the Department of Administration one, we can go to the 6-month follow-ups and start with B through
Okay,
B and C.
I'll take your lead on this one since I don't know where they all are. Go ahead. B. We're back on item number 4 now? Everybody, we're back on number 4B.
Good afternoon, Governor and members of the committee. For the record, Jeff Landerfelt, representing the State Public Works Division, is our Ward Patrick, Administrator, and Ron Cothran, Deputy Administrator, Buildings and Grounds Section. This division has partially implemented each of the 2 recommendations contained in DIA report number 20-02. To address our recommendation to ensure negotiated rates for commercially leased office space reflects the strength of the state's negotiating position, Public Works revised its space request form to require 12 months advance submission to leasing services before the expiration rather than 3 months. The standard lease template was also revised to include a provision reserving leasing services right to renegotiate throughout the lease term. The cost of tenant-requested improvements is now included as a standard feature on the statewide lease information form to inform decision makers in the review and approval process of its impact on the negotiated lease rates. Full implementation is expected July 2021. To address our recommendation to develop a method to ensure all available state office space options are considered, Public Works is researching real estate management software programs and coordinating with each to develop a cross-agency data compilation solution to identify all available state-owned office space, and will draft supporting regulations after IT solutions are known. Public Works reports it will request funding for IT solutions in the FY22 budget build. Full implementation is expected July 2021. We would like to thank the Public Works Division staff for their cooperation and assistance during this review. This concludes my presentation. Agency representatives are available to answer any questions you may have. In their absence, I will answer the questions.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions on item number 4B?
Governor, one quick one.
Mr. Treasurer Conine.
Thank you. I was curious whether or not the agency, I know there were some conversations about hiring someone or licensing someone who could get a real estate license. Is there a reason not to work with the Nevada Real Estate Division or someone else that already has a license to avoid additional staffing costs for something we use a few times a month?
When I did this audit, I spoke with the Real Estate Division, and at that time it was problematic. There were, believe it or not, there was not someone at that agency that had access to MLS listings. However, in speaking with Public Works Division, I understand that they are attempting to upgrade the position from an MA2 to an MA4. And also, there are some potential workaround solutions to get access to listings through some other service that may be less costly. So they're exploring all of that. To the extent it's possible at the real estate division, they will be exploring that as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have we just asked the realtors if we could get access to the listings?
For the record, Jeff Landerfelt, the realtors at the at the real estate division, or?
No, the agency.
Right, the agency, Public Works does not currently have a licensed real estate agent.
No, have we asked the Realtors Association if we could just get access to the?
Yes, sir, my understanding is that has been asked, and that is proprietary information that is only available to licensed agents.
Okay, give me the number of the person that you asked and they gave you that answer, and I'll make a call.
Okay, yes, sir. Ron Cothran, the Deputy Administrator for Buildings and Grounds, we had these discussions.
No, who you asked at the Realtors Association and they told you no. Give me that person's name and I will call them.
Yes, sir.
On your behalf. I'd be happy to. Okay, any further questions on 4B? We'll do 4C.
Thank you, Governor Warren Lohman, for the record. On the 6-month follow-up on, again, State Public Works Division, Buildings and Grounds, looking at project management, they had fully implemented 2 of the 3 recommendations and were in the process of defining construction contracts for inclusion in the State Administrative Manual. I spoke with the administrator down there this morning, and they are in the final review of what that ought to be to get the director's approval, and then it will be forwarded for BOE approval.
Okay. Do we have any questions on 4C? We hear a lot of people. Hello?
Hello, this is Ann Carpenter with Pearl and Probation.
Okay, you have a question on 4C?
Oh, excuse me. No, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to 4A. Do we have Tyler on the phone?
Yes, Governor, Tyler's here.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Governor, members of the committee. For the record, Jeff Landerfelt. On the phone with us representing the Department of Taxation Marijuana Enforcement Division is Tyler Klimas, Executive Director of the Cannabis Compliance Board. Action on the 3 audit recommendations was suspended pending transfer of the Marijuana Enforcement Division's regulatory authority to the Cannabis Compliance Board, effective July 1, 2020, pursuant to Assembly Bill 533 in the 2019 legislative session. We would like to thank the Department of Taxation and the Executive Director for their cooperation and assistance during this review. This concludes my presentation. Mr. Klimas is here to answer any questions you may have.
Do we have any questions of the Cannabis Control Board? Tyler's on the phone, and see Zach. Anybody on the phone have any questions?
Hi, this is Trudy. My only question is, if this all has been transferred, are we going to continue to follow up on it, though, since there doesn't seem to have been any action in the last 6 months?
Well, it didn't exist. It just got transferred a week ago, so there couldn't have been any action until then, Trudy.
No, I understand that. I'm just wanting it to stay on the auditor's follow-up.
Okay.
6-month follow-up schedule.
Go ahead, Warren.
Now we have new players that will be implementing the recommendations.
For the record, Warren Lohman, yes, ma'am, we are going to follow up on that. We will be on our likely annual follow-up schedule a year from now so that the agency has time to continue to build their operations, develop their policies and procedures, which we know they're looking at, and then be able to address specifically our recommendations as part of that.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. That leaves Department of Corrections, Mental Health Services.
Good afternoon, Deputy Director Brian Williams and Dr. Green, Mental Health Director, Department of Corrections.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen. Governor, for the record, Warren Lohman. Our 6-month follow-up report shows that the department is moving along and progressing towards our recommendations to establish performance measures and also to coordinate relationships with other state agencies. Specifically, they're looking at data in their notice system. They're looking at developing a continuous quality improvement program to achieve performance measures, and then working specifically with HHS on several areas in the South to more closely coordinate the requirements for health for the folks who are under their control in the South.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Department of Corrections on the mental health services 6-month follow-up?
Governor, this is Barbara Sagowski.
Yes, Secretary.
And thank you. I just didn't hear in there if they're doing any video conferencing or teleservice, how they're doing and how they're providing service at the mental health center.
This is Dr. Green, Mental Health Director. So we've been fortunate to hire a full-time person here in the South that has made a huge difference for the South and the North. There's ample psychiatric coverage, so we haven't had telemedicine directly needed. We do have telehealth medicine set up between some of our more rural facilities, say from Northern Nevada Correctional Center, and say Lovelock and with Eden.
Okay, so my question still stands, though. Do you provide that service with the pandemic that's going on? Are you able to provide video conferencing or teleservice, or is it in person?
It's in person.
Okay. All right. But is it available if they desire to have it, that they can do it on video conferencing or teleservice?
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Secretary Sagowski. Any other questions for Mental Health Service Department of Corrections? Hearing and seeing none. Thank you. We'll conclude item number 4. We'll move on to item number 5, Department of Administration, Administrative Services Division, Bond Management and Accounting.
Good afternoon, Governor and committee members. For the record, Heather Domenici, Executive Branch Auditor. Here to represent the Department of Administration and the Administrative Services Division are Laura Freed, Department Director, and Matt Tuma, ASD Administrator. Our audit focused on ASD's bond management and accounting practices with the objective of developing recommendations to improve operations. We found imprecise bond spending forecasts cost the state an average $6.8 million annually in the last biennium. Lack of detailed analysis of CIP project closings resulted in an opportunity cost to the state of $2 million in the current biennium in unspent federal funds. Moreover, ASD's non-conforming accounting practices increase the risk of fraud and management override of controls. We make 3 recommendations for ASD to improve bond management and accounting. ASD should assist Public Works improve the precision of bond spending forecast. ASD should enhance fiscal management and advisory services provided to Public Works. ASD should ensure accounting practices conform with accounting standards and requirements. An average $6.8 million in lost interest earnings and bondholder payments was incurred due to prematurely issued bonds based on imprecise and overstated Public Works bond spending forecasts. Over-forecasted and unspent bond proceeds were approximately $69.3 million annually in fiscal years 2018 and 2019. We recommend ASD assist Public Works improve the precision of bond spending forecasts by evaluating underlying CIP spending assumptions, calculations, and forecast methodology. More precise bond spending forecasts will assist Public Works to effectively manage the CIP, minimize costs to the state, and secure the public trust. Additionally, review of ASD project and accounting records revealed an opportunity cost to the state of $2 million in the current biennium. Public Works did not fully spend federal project funds or pursue project reauthorization for an expiring CIP project. ASD did not perform a detailed analysis for all expiring CIP projects and funds, which could have assisted Public Works ensure project funds were reauthorized or reallocated. We recommend ASD enhance fiscal management and advisory services provided to Public Works to help improve agency functions and carry out its responsibilities more effectively. Finally, non-conforming accounting practices increase the risk of fraud and management override of controls, increase the risk of financial statement misstatements, and lead to inaccurate program and financial accounting records. Review of ASD project and accounting records revealed pervasive non-conforming accounting practices that depart from accounting standards and federal and state requirements. Most concerning were multiple instances of management override of controls that led to unnecessary bonding costs incurred to the state, misstated vendor payment records, and CIP project spending in violation of statute. We recommend ASD ensure accounting practices conform to accounting standards and federal and state requirements to reduce these risks to the state. In summary, improving the precision of bond spending forecasts will benefit Nevada up to $6.8 million annually, while enhanced fiscal management and advisory services could have saved the state $2 million in the current biennium. We would like to thank ASD management and staff for their time and input throughout the audit. We would be happy to answer any questions the committee may have at this time.
Okay, I don't know who's going to answer the questions, but the reversion of the millions of dollars to the federal government is simply unacceptable. I don't know, we don't get our share of money to begin with, as far as I'm concerned, and they have to send it back because of a mismanagement is just totally beyond my imagination when we're fighting for every single dollar. And the issuing, and I know I got the treasurer here, but the issuing of more bonds than we need and paying interest on this money and not doing it in tranches, I don't understand. So who can answer how this came about?
Governor, this is Laura Freed, for the record, Director of Administration. I wish I had a great answer for you about how it came about. I would honestly say my conjecture is that it was simple neglect, staff over, and lack of training your successors. And since I took over at the department and since Administrator Tuma took over at Admin Services, we've renewed our focus on getting all those things right, because I agree with you that the findings in this audit are troubling, and I want to make things better. And so what we now have staffing for the CIP accounting that is all there. For a time, we didn't have that staffing up to us, but now we do. And Administrator Tuma could say more about the training that we've undertaken, but I can tell you that ASD staff has reached out to Treasurer's Office staff along with Public Works to understand their bond processes better and to understand the evaluation of the spending of each tranche of bond funding that's issued by the Board of Finance. So with that, I will wait for more comments and questions, and Administrator Tuma may want to jump in whenever he feels appropriate.
Okay, if the estimates are coming over too high for the amount of bonds that you need to sell, we need to know that, because wherever the problem is coming in, I don't want to sell in excess that we just don't need. I mean, we're borrowing money, and I don't know if it's coming over to you that way. The treasurer sells what we got to sell, but he doesn't follow this stuff. It's not, I don't think it's under his jurisdiction. I don't know if you want to weigh in here, Zach.
Thanks, Governor. You know, our office typically is responsible for the issuing of bonds, not the estimates that come forward with them. During the last bond issuance, there was a request from Public Works for, I believe, $88 million that we pushed back on and cut down to 58. We've been tracking this, the overbonding for some time. It was a day one conversation for the staff. They couldn't wait to talk about it. But I'm appreciative of the administrator's comments. I think this is, especially now, right? This is a bigger issue than it ever was. The spread, as you mentioned during the last Board of Finance, between what we pay for these bonds and what we're able to invest that money at continues to widen. We're just literally burning cash by doing it this way. And I think it's a forecasting exercise. If they're if their estimates are higher than their spend consistently, there's a problem with the estimates.
So this is Administrator Tuma from Administrative Services Division. I hear this messaging loud and clear, and this was feedback definitely in the audit that we received, and that's what we're working with our CIP team, which has been retooled this biennium, as well as had an additional staffer put on it to be tracking these types of measures and making sure that we get as close as possible to projected spend is what we actually need.
Governor, if I could make one other comment. At the Board of Finance meeting, we do track projected versus actual spend. We'll continue to do that. Happy to highlight that report a little more aggressively in the future, but we have the data and we'll continue to push back.
That would be very helpful. Anyone else have any comments or questions on this one?
I do. This is Trudy. Again, my audit background. I'm just curious as far as the accounting practices conforming to standards, what is really the cause of that? Do you not have staff that are accountants or have accounting degrees? I mean, I share the director's concern. This is very troubling because I work a lot with federal funding, and by having something like this documented, I think there's a risk of having the feds coming in and looking, and if things aren't fixed, certainly having money demanded to be paid back. So I'm just curious if there's a feel for really what the problem is, I guess, is if it's just lack of staff or lack of staff skills or...
Trudy, I just want to make it clear, and I appreciate your comments, there's no evidence or representation that there's any misuse of any funds. So the evidence that's being brought forward is that we borrowed more money than we needed. We had to pay interest on the money that we borrowed, we didn't need it. And some of the money that we were supposed to spend, we didn't spend, so we had to send it back.
Oh, I understand that. But just not conforming to accounting standards, that is just troubling to me as well. But, I mean, do we have the right type of position to ensure that that's not going to happen anymore, or?
This is Laura Freed for the record, and again, Matthew Tuma may jump in with more detailed plans. It seems to us that a lot of this deals with knowledge transfer because the Administrative Services Division over the last couple of years has had an awful lot of staff churn. And so what you had was folks who were at the sort of accounting technician level trying to pick up the pieces from their predecessor where records may or may not have been kept very well. So we're basically trying to rebuild our policies and procedures and our training processes so that those kinds of knowledge gaps don't occur again.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that, sincerely.
Yes, this is Matthew Tuma, Administrator of ASD, and echo those comments. We're, for the first time in quite some time, fully staffed up on our CIP team, but there has been a significant amount of turnover with our team. I think the longest term that one of the members on the team has been there is about 9 months, 8 or 9 months.
Oh, my gosh.
We've had a lot of turnover, but the key is to make sure that we have those trainings in place and make sure that we have multiple people have institutional knowledge and cross-train to make sure we're following all policies and procedures.
Great. No, I think that's great to add to the minutes. Staff turnover is huge in trying to stay compliant. So thank you for those comments.
Thank you. Any further questions on the Administrative Services Division, Bond Management and Accounting? Seeing none, moving on to number B, Office of the Governor, Department of Public Safety, Division of Parole and Probation, Probation Cost Sharing.
Good afternoon, Governor and committee members. For the record, my name is Jeff Landerfelt, Executive Branch Auditor. This audit is a continuation from the first audit of the Department of Public Safety Division of Parole and Probation that was presented at the February 26, 2020 EBAC meeting. This audit report is addressed to the Office of the Governor because after discussion with the division, we agreed that the audit recommendation was an overarching policy decision that would impact not just state executive branch agency, but would also require support at the county level and potentially the judicial branch as well. For that reason, we provide this audit report for the governor's consideration and further guidance with the understanding that ultimate success in the legislature would likely depend on coordinated cross-jurisdictional support. Our audit objective was to improve services for offenders under the supervision of parole and probation, and we made one recommendation: develop a cost-sharing formula with counties for supervision of probationers. The state bears the full fiscal burden of probationers' supervision costs, removing any incentive for counties to share responsibility for the success of offenders from their jurisdictions. Developing a cost-sharing formula could reduce the state's general fund appropriation to NPP by $515,000 to $6.4 million annually, potentially reduce the probationer revocation rate and associated costs to counties, and equitably share supervision of probationers with counties. The probationer population has, on average, increased 2.4% per calendar year. The supervision budget has increased on average $2.6 million annually, or 8.7% over the same period. Since the 2011 legislative session, counties have been statutorily required to reimburse NPP for most pre-sentence investigation costs, but do not share probationer supervision costs. The legislature's intent, as expressed in the cost share requirement for PSI costs, could also be applied to probationer supervision costs. Individualized community supervision is a best practice that could be enhanced through local participation. Conditions of probationers are ordered by district court judges that generally conform to county borders. Shared responsibility ensures local communities are vested in the success of probationers. Other states, Arizona, Nebraska, and Colorado, share costs with counties. Community supervision programs and services could benefit from a cost-sharing formula. Unsuccessful community supervision efforts have a fiscal impact on counties, which incur incarceration costs for probationers awaiting revocation hearings. Modest reductions in probation revocations derived from engaged interest at the county level would result in savings to the counties. This concludes my presentation. We would like to thank NPP staff for their time and input throughout this audit. We would be happy to answer any questions the committee may have at this time. And I think I heard Chief Carpenter is on the line.
Okay. Do we have any questions on this under Chief Carpenter? Did you want to comment?
I don't have any comments, sir, but if there's any questions that I can answer, let me know, please.
Okay. Do we have any comments or questions? I would appreciate if we could pursue this, obviously. The savings to the state and our counties could be substantial, and definitely something worth looking into with the increase in probationers. Anybody else? Okay. Moving on to Department of Administration, State Public Works Division, Building and Grounds, Long-Term Office-Based Planning Mechanism.
Good afternoon, Governor and committee members. For the record, my name is Jeff Landerfelt, Executive Branch Auditor. On the phone representing the State Public Works Division is Ward Patrick, Administrator. This audit complements the leasing services audit presented in February, but focuses on Public Works long-term office-based planning mechanism. A high percentage, 67% of executive branch office space is leased and has been for several decades. The level of commercially leased office space is the result of a default position rather than a deliberative process. Developing a long-term office space planning mechanism to optimize the balance between owned and leased office space will ensure the residual benefits of ownership accrue to the state rather than commercial lessors, about 30% of which are out-of-state investors. To that end, we make 5 recommendations. First, we recommend Public Works propose legislation to implement and maintain a long-term statewide office space needs assessment, which will establish the necessary authority to coordinate a process that compiles, analyzes, summarizes, and prioritizes information about long-term office space needs. Other states adopted statutory provisions to regularly monitor and report long-term facility needs, either through the budget process or independently through an established board or commission. Statutory provisions in surveyed states were intended to address information gaps like Nevada's that were needed to improve cost control and efficiency over management of state building facilities, allow state leadership to understand investment decisions within a relevant context, and identify the most cost-effective alternatives. Secondly, we recommend the proposed legislation require agencies to biennially submit updated long-term facility needs. A long-term facility needs plan is not possible without an ongoing commitment from agencies to push base information into a process that compiles, analyzes, and reports results to decision makers. Surveyed states require agencies to provide regular updates as the basis for preparing long-term statewide facility needs plans, which ensures continuity despite agency turnover. We also recommend identifying economical consolidation opportunities to improve efficiencies and reduce reliance on leases for office space needs. Long-term needs of agencies must be considered together in order to identify compatible missions with geographic suitability, as was done in the 2015 Capitol Complex and Bradley Government Campus Development Study, which identified long-term savings in excess of $100 million at 30 years with an estimated residual value of building value of $54 million. We recommend developing a lease versus own model to estimate the cost of long-term options. Developing lease versus own models to estimate the cost of long-term options will identify potential savings to the state to pursue when prioritizing capital projects. Surveyed states have lease versus own models readily available as a tool to perform preliminary cost analysis of long-term lease purchase options. These models identify investment opportunities and inform leasing terms. Finally, we recommend incorporating analysis of long-term statewide office space needs into the capital improvement plan reporting structure to provide executive branch officers and legislators needed context and supporting analysis as they contemplate CIP projects and consider lease versus own decisions with a long-term view. Other states' long-term statewide facility needs plans include reporting mechanisms that include summary and supporting analysis through the capital projects approval process. We would like to thank the State Public Works Division and its staff for their time and input throughout the audit. We'd be happy to answer any questions the committee may have at this time.
Great. Do we have any questions on item number 5C? Treasurer Conine.
Thanks, Governor. I just wanted to thank the audit committee for bringing this one forward. We went through an office move earlier this year, and to say that the process was less than scientific would be an understatement. So I'm really glad if we can move in this direction. I think there's just a ton of money out there. And the state's done things like the Nevada Real Property Corporation in the past that gave us the Bryan building, that we just have a lot of tools that we're just not using. So deeply in favor of this.
Agreed. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, moving on. 5D, Department of Administration Purchasing Division Master Service Agreements for direct client services. Somebody's phone is not muted. Okay.
Kevin Doty from State Purchasing is on the line.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Governor and members of the committee. For the record, Craig Stevenson. Representing purchasing is Administrator Kevin Doty. The direct client services procurement process is inefficient and lacks independent oversight because soliciting and vetting providers is performed solely by purchasing. Additionally, the BOE contract approval process is inefficient and untimely due to limitations on the clerk of the BOE's contract approval threshold. Our audit focused on two objectives: increasing the efficiency of the direct client services procurement process and enhancing the effectiveness of the clerk of the BOE's contract approval process. For our first objective, we made two recommendations: delegate authority for procuring direct client services and establish a compliance review program for agencies that have delegated authority. Increasing the efficiency of the procurement process will ensure compliance with purchasing statutes and regulations and result in staff time savings of approximately $63,000 annually. Delegating authority for procuring direct client services to DHHS and DETR, the two agencies that use direct client service providers in 2019, will eliminate purchasing staff time required to solicit providers and process the associated contracts. Prior to 2018, purchasing did not solicit direct client service providers, and the Budget Division did not review the contracts for BOE approval. A change in the direct client services procurement process resulted in increased cost of purchasing and the Budget Division. The change in process required purchasing to solicit and qualify providers at a cost of approximately $71,000 in fiscal year 2019. The purchasing administrator may delegate procurement authority to agencies if in the best interests of the state. Delegating authority is consistent with the provisions of NRS 333 and does not conflict with the rules of competitive bidding. 9 states surveyed allow their chief procurement officer to delegate authority to state agencies. We also recommend purchasing establish a compliance review program for agencies' delegated procurement authority for direct client services. Establishing a review program will ensure compliance with provider vetting requirements, statutes, and regulations. Purchasing currently solicits, then vets providers for medical or professional licensure, state business licensure, and insurance requirements. Delegating authority to DHHS and DETR will permit these agencies to solicit and vet providers and will allow purchasing oversight of the procurement process. Purchasing can provide this necessary oversight by establishing a compliance review program. States that delegate procurement authority have compliance review programs to ensure that agencies follow statutes, regulations, and guidelines set by their chief procurement official. Arizona has a performance review program that may be an optimal option for Nevada because Arizona and Nevada have similar procurement processes, organizational structures, and internal control requirements. Arizona's performance review program focuses on agency vetting and compliance with procurement statutes and regulations, the same attributes that we recommend transferring back to the agencies. Purchasing can use Arizona's model to establish a compliance review program for Nevada agencies. This will ensure independent oversight of agencies that are delegated direct client service procurement authority. For our second objective, we recommend purchasing seek a BDR to allow the clerk of the BOE to approve contracts for services valued up to $100,000. Increasing the clerk of the BOE's contract approval threshold will increase the efficiency of BOE meetings by reducing the number of contracts that must be reviewed by BOE members by an estimated 20%. The clerk of the BOE approves contracts for services valued at less than $50,000 pursuant to NRS 333. Contracts valued at $50,000 or more require formal approval at a BOE meeting, requiring agencies to wait several weeks for contract approval. The clerk of the BOE's approval threshold is out of line with contracting practices in Nevada's urban counties where the contract approval limit is $100,000. Purchasing can enhance the effectiveness of the BOE's contract approval process by seeking a BDR to allow the clerk of the BOE to approve contracts for services valued up to $100,000. This will increase BOE efficiency and allow a timelier state contracting process. We would like to thank purchasing for their time and input throughout this audit, and we'd be happy to answer any questions the committee may have at this time.
Thank you very much. Does the committee have any questions on this one? I think that the increasing the clerk authority to $100,000 is long overdue. I mean, it's not been raised in a significant number of years, and it'll give them more flexibility and timeliness as it relates to not having to bring it to VOE, so I'm definitely supportive of that one. Do we have any other comments or questions on this audit? Hearing none. Thank you very much. Statewide, number 5E, Governor's Finance Office, statewide cell phone mobile device use.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Governor, members of the committee. For the record, Ashwini Prasad. The Department of Administration requested the Division of Internal Audits to examine the taxability of cell phone stipends. IRS and the Office of the Attorney General guidelines indicates cell phone stipends are non-taxable and non-reportable. State Administrative Manual, or SAM, states a stipend is taxable income and reportable on the employee's W-2 wage and tax statement. SAM guidance on taxability of cell phone stipends is inconsistent with IRS guidelines. We made a recommendation to revise SAM to reflect federal guidelines on cell phone stipends. We then broadened the scope of the initial request to include review of state cell phone use and policy. A lack of a standard statewide policy on state-issued cell phones and other mobile devices has led to inconsistent treatment among agencies and higher cell phone costs to the state. Additionally, because SAM does not correctly reflect federal guidelines on the taxability of cell phone stipends, it has limited agencies' ability to offer lower-cost stipends to employees using their personal phones for state business. Consequently, agencies provide state-issued cell phones at a higher cost to the state rather than offer lower-cost stipends to employees. While offering employees a stipend for personal use of their cell phone may be the best option for a state based on costs, personal cell phones used for state business may be subject to public records requests. We made two recommendations. The first recommendation is to develop a statewide cell phone mobile device use policy to eliminate variability in mobile device policies among agencies, provide criteria for eligibility requirements for state-issued mobile devices or stipends for employee-owned mobile devices, and help reduce costs. We reviewed 11 agencies' policies, and only 4 of the 11 agencies had comprehensive mobile device use policies. The remainder had limited information within their policies. The second recommendation is to determine the best mobile device use option and assess if usage data supports mobile device expenditures to help reduce state cell phone costs and potentially benefit the state between $25,000 and $43,000 annually. Every state agency would benefit by reconciling usage data provided by the cell phone providers on at least a quarterly basis to determine if the employee's usage meets established criteria and supports the expenditures for state-issued cell phones or stipend payments. In addition to not having a consistent mobile device policy among agencies, cell phone service costs also vary for state-issued phones depending on service plans. Agencies paid a range of rates per line for various service combinations of an average of $59 per month. The state's current stipends based on our sample are between $30 and $39. Most agencies not offering stipends to their employees and provide state-issued cell phones results at higher costs to the state, although personal cell phones used for state business may be subject to public records requests. We appreciate the Governor's Finance Office, Department of Administration, Division of Human Resource Management, Department of Corrections, and the Office of the Attorney General for their assistance throughout the audit. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you for the presentation, and I think it's obviously important that the SAM be revised to mirror IRS regulations. How that can be is beyond me, that they're not, so I would certainly hope that would be done quickly, and I think it's incumbent upon the state or legislature, somebody, to come up with a standard policy for cell phones. This is not an issue unique to the state. It's an issue that I dealt with at the university system. It's an issue I dealt with at the counties. Everybody is grappling with handling of cell phones and stipends and reimbursements, so I think a standard policy would be extremely helpful for everybody. Any questions?
This is Trudy. I just have a quick one.
Okay, Trudy.
Does the state go to bid for cell phone service? I mean, I have to imagine there would be a great savings across the board if you have the volume of the state of Nevada. Is there any consistent plan with any provider, or is each agency on their own?
For the record, Warren Lohman. Ms. DeLong, what we saw was that there are master service agreements for these various cell phone, mobile device providers, and that is to the extent of any bidding or negotiating on the state's behalf.
Do they, are they consistently used, those master service agreements?
Go ahead.
For the record, Ashwini Prasad, from our sample and what we looked at, yes, the agencies are using the master service agreements and providers that are with the state.
One of the issues that came up, I know in my previous lives, that these master service agreements, certain carriers are effective in certain areas and not as effective in other areas, and then the people don't like them because you get too many dropped calls and you can't get 3 or 4 bars, whatever it is, so it's a difficult issue to deal with. Any more questions?
Thank you.
On the cell phones?
I wanted to, just to make a comment that along with cell phones, we find a lot of personal use of people's laptops and computers at home. And the issue has come up in my office because just about everybody is telecommuting. So that is my comment about the, you know, how personal cell phone use is similar now. And, you know, we have so much more people that are using their personal assets at home.
Very good. Anybody else? Okay, we've already taken item number 6. Item number 7, committee members' comments. Do any committee members have a comment?
Governor, this is Barbara Sagowski, and I just wanted, thank you. I just wanted to thank the audit team. Again, they worked with my staff and myself on answering questions, and I know that they will follow up on some of the ones that we had that were a little more pertinent for after they complete part of their program that they're doing. So I just again wanted to thank all of them, everybody, for everything that they've done for us. Warren has been excellent to work with, and he responds quickly. So thank you.
I appreciate you saying that, Secretary, and I could not agree more. They're absolutely incredible in these difficult times where these meetings are Zoomed and teleconferenced and everything else, everybody accommodating us on the phone. We obviously had some technical problems earlier that have been resolved, and everybody did get through and speak, which is helpful. But hopefully, someday soon, we will be able to get back to regular meetings where everybody can come and sit here and we can go through these items face to face without masks on. So, thank you all very much. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, Gov, sorry, public comment.
Thank you.
Public comment, Gov?
Yes, we need
Sorry.
to do public comment.
This is the second time set aside for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board on any item, please step forward, identify yourself for the record. Comments be limited to 3 minutes. Of anybody? Now, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.